일단 이제 왕호가 저희 팀에 들어오고 나서 이제 리그 중에도 이제 LCK 리그 중에도 막 MSI는 무조건 가야 한다. 무조건 가야 한다. 한국 팀이 한 팀밖에 없는데 이거 진짜 우승할 수 있는 좋은 기회 아니냐라는 식으로 이제 얘기를 하면서 MSI가 많이 중요하다라는 걸 되게 저희한테 각인을 시켜줬고 또 작년에 MSI 우승자 피넛이 있으니까 저희가 이번 연도에 잘하면 또 우승할 수 있을 것 같아요.
Welcome back to the MSI 2018 Finals. We're just under 10 minutes away from the opening ceremony. But to hear more about the clash we're about to witness, let's check in with Quickshot, Kobe, and Deficio, who will be bringing you the cast in not too long. Guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dash. I am the aforementioned Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined here by Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kansas, and Martin Deficio Lunga. Gentlemen, we've talked a lot about the series, talked a lot about expectations, but as this was the MSI about 80 carries, I want to dial in on Uzi versus Prey. I mean, the desk basically unanimously said that Uzi was the best player world. Not putting words in their mouths at all, but...
I mean, I love this story, right? This tournament was thrown as the tournament where all the top 80 carries from all the regions are coming together to compete for the first time here, and it's only fitting that Uzi and Prey are the last two standing, the two very best.
And they're also doing it very differently, which is very fun for this specific matchup because Uzi is stomping the laning phase. He's trying to take down that first turret. He will try and shut you down early on in the game. Prey, on the other hand, he's often left on his own, as we talk about so frequently with Kingzone, and then he needs to be really good in the mid game and in team fights on Ezreal.
Definitely cool to see them two clash. Both of them have been so successful for so long as well. They've been playing and had success in their regional tournaments. They've even gotten to finals in international tournaments, but this is going to be the final to decide who will be the first to actually take a championship.
Frostgruen had a great line for Uzi from the LPL from China, the crownless king.
Yep.
You know how much we love kings here in Europe, and for Uzi to finally pick up his first title this spring split, but like 4 regional finals, 2 world finals, he did those back-to-back, no international title. Today he's got another shot, Kobe.
Definitely true. Prey's going to say the same thing, though.
Of course, yeah, he definitely also wants to win this title here, but I think if you're RNG, like you look at the entire tournament, this might be your best chance. Like you've won 9 games in a row now.
Yes.
Your AD carry is always doing extremely well, and the entire team is built around him specifically.
So before we go back to the analyst desk, I want to look at the jungle pools as well. We've seen both Peanut and Cuz playing. Expecting Peanut to play most of it. We've seen Karsa and MLXG. How much does that impact the draft? Because now you've also got to worry about substitutions just as much as the champions.
It's really interesting because I think so much more of the substitution is about the players and their mentality rather than champion pools.
Right.
People always will jump to the champion pools and be like, oh, you know, he's much better on X champion. But it's really been so much about, as we've seen in all the interviews, Peanut is such an outspoken guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's the one directing so many of the early game moves, and when he's in the game, it's about his early game plan.
And the outspoken guy on the other side for RNG is MLXG, who can do random stuff. We don't know what's actually going to happen. His own teammate doesn't even know what's going on, where Karsa is the more controlled player, the one they are starting with as well in this game, which I think is a good thing, because with Karsa, I think you actually know exactly what you're going to get, and you will play with the team. MLXG, he's just over here somewhere doing something crazy.
Okay, what about the fact that Korea hasn't been beaten, what was the number? 1,106 days. Do you think anybody cares about? Do you think that the Korean overlord dominance?
I think people care. It's definitely an intimidating number.
But like, how much does that play into it? You know, that representing China, representing LPL, sole representation. We just heard Prey talking about that as well.
I'm sure RNG wants to show that no one loses to Korea 1,107 days in a row. They will beat them.
There we go. No one loses to Korea 1,107. That's what we're looking forward to. Dash, back to you guys.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, today's the day if they're going to do it on the international stage. There's an expectation that the biggest play comes from an insane 1v1 or a clutch tower dive. But then there are the times where you and literally the entire squad show up just to say, I'm helping. In their game against Fnatic, Royal Never Give Up unleashed 3 teleports 21 minutes into game 2 to turn the table in a bot lane team fight. Let's take a look.
Letme outnumbered, drops the Hemo Plague, just trying to buy a little bit more time. TP is going to be coming in here, using the flash to get himself away. TP's completed, Xiaohu and Uzi both decide to show up. It's going to be Ming, it's going to be a party! And RNG brings the whole crew. Whippo tries to escape, but Karsa's coming in as well to make sure there's no way out, and RNG grabs himself 3 for free.
We kind of referred to it as the clown car TP because it looked like one. You're thinking, okay, surely this TP just gets canceled, but then boom,
1, 2,
boom, boom. It wasn't even perfect time. You're like, wait a minute, it's still going?
Back in the LPL, we sat on that patch for a very long time, so we're very experienced with the Goon Squad teleports, if you will. I mean, the AD carry TP meta makes for some really fun League of Legends. In bad ones, that was one of the good ones.
Just got to imagine the comms from Fnatic there. Oh, we could deal with 1 TP. We can maybe deal with 3 TPs. What? All right, well, that was just one of the plays that made MSI 2018 so memorable. And before we welcome the final series of the tournament, let's take a look at a couple more moments from our time here in Europe. First up, who could forget Doublelift's Karsa, which rocked Flash Wolves in the group stage and kept Team Liquid's hopes alive.
Yeah, this is a super exciting day. TL walked into the final day of games with only 3 wins. Doublelift pulls out the Karsa. It's a Karsa and a bunch of CC, and this fight here was insane by Doublelift. It, for a moment, looked like flashing into the victor from Worlds a couple years ago, but the output was a lot better.
I did feel like this is one of the few times they had the breathing room after some really rough early games and a rough start of the tournament to pop off, so it was definitely a privilege to watch them on the world stage.
A very high moment. Then there's Caps' Yasuo, which took a solo queue pick from Troll to Terrifying.
And this guy's name was on everyone's lips when we were talking about a possible frontrunner for MVP. And in his opening game, he pulls out the Yasuo and he styles up in the side lanes and the team fights. This guy went from, you know, just a prodigy to King Caps in my eyes.
Yeah, he definitely put himself on the map for a lot of international fans, especially with the Yasuo pick. In a terrible situation, still picks up a double kill. Such a tournament for Caps.
Fnatic mid laners at MSI. It was Forbidden a few years ago. Now it's Caps. They always make them mark.
All right, those were just 2 of the highlights in a tournament where we had 75 unique picks, which is the highest we've ever seen at MSI.
Yeah, the previous high was 68 that we've seen in MSI. This is also the first time since 2016 an international event hasn't had a 100% pick or ban champion, with Rakan actually falling through the entire time. And I've really just loved the diversity we've seen from the roles as well.
I want to be a bit more frank and a bit more short. It's a kick-ass tournament.
And that's a very simple point, but just the way we got here and the fact that no one's really agreed on a meta. It always feels like, you know, we just came off Worlds and the Ardent Sensor meta. It's pretty one note. We were all seeing how everything fit within one archetype. Here, everyone's kind of playing their own game. And then we're seeing counter picks upon counter picks with the Singed a couple of days ago. The Irelia's a new thing as well. That could just be a new 77th, 78th. We could keep going in this final.
Wouldn't that be something, right? If the final best of 5 was determined by another unique pick, Jat, within the idea of the 75 unique picks, I think another thing that's jumped out to me in this tournament is the way in which they've come to light and the way in which the different lane matchups have fluctuated in terms of style of champion.
Yeah, even look at Irelia in the semifinals to go with Yasuo. That's 2 melee mid laners that we've seen. The fact that Flash Wolves, who was just eliminated yesterday, had a main strategy of counter-picking support and getting ranged support matches in the bottom lane. Some teams ban Karsa, sometimes they've never had Karsa banned against them, like RNG. Every single role, you have a thing you can look at that is completely different from team to team, which has actually almost never happened before. There's usually like, oh yeah, this is the tournament with 3 top laners. This is the tournament with 3 junglers. But it could have started that way when we thought it was going to be the Trundle, Olaf, Skarner meta, but then Graves came in, then Kindred started scaring people off, then Xin Zhao started getting banned. It's been really cool to watch.
Yeah, it feels like this is just about every team's personality. I know that we kind of had this discussion around the word meta and trying to really define it. And for once, we don't really have that tournament meta. It's who plays their style better. And I cannot think of a more exciting way to go into a finals of seeing, you know, this new, unique Korean aggressive style versus the age-old raise the puppy, protect the ADC LPL style.
And Papa, while we talk about new picks, let's not forget old ones. There are some picks that were kind of prolific in the beginning of the group stage and have kind of disappeared, and I still have this lingering question in my mind. Will any of those return? I'm thinking the Sorakas in the bot lane. Where did that go after kind of stomping kids for just a moment?
And we had Skarner kind of disappear in group stage, then come back here in the playoffs. I think Ashe will potentially have a role here. I want to see Praise Ashe one more time. I love that everyone has their own thing. They try to wield it, and that's what international tournaments should be about.
Hey, you heard the stomping in the background of the crowd. That's my cue, rather, to say, with only a minute left to go. Let's throw it down the stage for the opening ceremony.
Professional League of Legends has come to Florida. First ever mid-season invitational.
FLICKR has never lost with LeBlanc on the competitive stage.
And that right there makes it all worth it.
EULCS versus LCK, David and Goliath.
A SKT é mais uma vez campeã do Mid-Season Invitational!
And SKT are once again the champion!
Berlin, Germany, 2018 MSI group stage.
Flash Wolves undefeated! Fnatic will set themselves up your stage!
Fnatic fight disaster! And RNG will move on to the final.
In a return to form victory over Flash Wolves!
S'il vous plaît, un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour les Kings of DragonX! Ils n'ont pas cessé de grandir tout du long de ce tournoi et ils viennent maintenant sous leur forme finale pour poursuivre l'héritage coréen. S'il vous plaît, une fois de plus pour les Kings of DragonX!
Tournoi et il sort d'une demi-finale contre des Fnatic sans avoir concédé un seul match. Ils viennent ici pour apporter à la région chinoise son deuxième titre du MSI. Une autre salle d'applaudissements s'il vous plaît pour le Royal.
Sur la top lane, deux adversaires. Il s'agit de Letme. Son opposant sera du côté Kingzone, Khan.
Et dans la jungle, côté Royal Never Give Up, un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour Karsa. Son adversaire sera le prodige coréen, Untitled.
Sur la mid lane, un duel de monstres. Côté chinois, Xiaohu. Et pour les Kingzone, bien entendu,
Au poste d'Adekari, le duel du jour verra s'opposer côté royal. Et son adversaire sera le vétéran Braum.
Et afin de les soutenir, il s'agit côté RNG de Ming, qui jouera face Gorilla.
Et enfin, nous vous demandons s'il vous plaît d'applaudir le coach et le support de chaque et le remplaçant, excusez-moi, de chaque équipe. Côté RNG, Hurt et MLXG. Et du côté des Kingzone, Haxin et Kaz.
S'il vous plaît, le Zénith, pour les deux équipes de la grande finale, faites du bruit.
늘 이제 LCK 팀들은 결승은 항상 왔었거든요.
Kingzone will take the 3-1 victory over Flash Wolves.
물론 이제 EDG가 한번 우승을 했었던 적은 있지만 그거 말고는 다 LCK, SKT 팀이 이겼는데
SK Telecom, they are your mid-season Invitational champions.
Going through the crucible of the mid-season Invitational, the best team in the world, SKT are once again the champions.
LCK하고 또 MSI 하면 사람들이 SKT를 기억하지 않나 생각해요. 그래서 이제 이번 MSI는 저희가 LCK는 SKT 말고 킹존도 있다라고 할 수 있는 대회인 것 같아요.
Winning the Wing Biggle comes across and gets revenge for the first 3 games.
我在很多次世界比赛中都输给了韩国队，然后如果能够在决赛中还战胜韩国队，我觉得就真的非常的棒。真的非常的讨厌第2名吧，因为我真的很想要拿第1名，而且这次我也感觉到我们是第1名。
就是 LCK 都是一个特别强赛区嘛，很少人在世界赛上面击败他们，所以我觉得这就是对大家证明，就韩国队也不是无敌的嘛。
Having Fnatic is so high tempo, but Karsa will again swipe the objective away.
피아 선수가 SKT 유니폼을 입고 약간 그런 우승을 했던 트로피를 올리고 있던 그런 사진들이 나오는데 이번에는 SKT가 아닌 킹존 자켓을 입고 다 같이 좀 트로피를 들고 있는 그런 모습으로 좀 나왔으면 좋겠어요.
What an opening ceremony. The entire arena vibrating underneath our feet as only one defending MSI champion stands on that stage. And I think that's something to remember, that for all of them there, this is a huge, huge moment.
Even for Peanut, it was such a different scene on SKT where he was a cog in a bigger machine. Here, he is the shot caller in many ways in that early game especially. They rely on his international experience he needs to perform.
I love that trip down memory lane as well, seeing all those kind of high intensity and action-packed and critical moments in past MSIs.
And it goes back even 5 years into the past for Uzi losing to Koreans in finals or in important moments. 2013 he lost to SKT in the finals. 2014 he lost to Samsung in the finals. The last 2 years he's been eliminated by SKT in the finals. It's got to be nice to look across and not see SKT if you're Uzi.
Yeah, he was 15 years old when he first had to stand across from FLICKR in a packed Staples Arena.
A different time.
Can you imagine, though, having that repeated record that you're constantly measured to the best player in the world? I mean, at the time, we didn't know that FLICKR would be FLICKR and that Uzi would be Uzi. And just to see the trajectory that both their careers have taken since that fateful moment.
And 5 years later, here we are standing saying that perhaps Uzi is now the best player in the world.
FLICKR's the best of all time,
The best
for
of all
sure.
time, yes, no, understood. I'm saying, that's why I said now. I very much specified. I used the word now so I don't get eviscerated on the internet. Wow, Uzi has had a monstrous performance this tournament. It's really enabled by the style that RNG has crafted around him.
And all the way back until 2014, they named this style Raise the Puppy, and it has come back into full fruition in this tournament specifically. Domestically, the LPL, RNG, they like to play the 1-3-1. It was about their solo laners, and then Uzi was just that late game insurance policy. At MSI, Uzi says, no, this tournament is mine. I am the best player in the world. I am at my peak performance right now, and I am going to lift this trophy.
Yeah, and you actually do get to pick a little bit who gets the gold on your team. The best stat we have for this, I think, is CS percentage from 15 to 30 minutes. And this is where you really see how committed RNG is to giving gold to Uzi. You can see he gets 37% of that CS. It's only 1% less than his top lane, jungle, and support combined. So he is taking the lion's share of that farm.
And whenever you see them pick up the first turret, you best believe Uzi's getting that bonus gold, getting towards items. I love the fact that here from the Kingzone side, you see the 7% extra that Uzi gets over Prey. It's going to Khan on the top side. So there's definitely trades happening. You've only got 100% to work with.
And also watch how they acquire this farm and this gold lead for Uzi. Watch MLXG or Karsa, watch Ming. They act as a secret service, if you will, an escort, leading him from lane to lane, making sure that he's safe to pick up these resources before grouping into the flying V and looking for the team fight.
Yeah, exactly. The CS is only part of the story. Uzi actually gets to 10,000 gold on average at 23 minutes and 12 seconds. Go into your solo queue games and see when you get 10,000 gold. It's usually a lot later. The tournament average is actually 1 minute and 9 seconds slower than Uzi for AD carry. So he is way more farmed than
That's absolutely insane that he's hitting item spikes at the times that he is. And while Kingzone need Prey and Gorilla to keep up with Uzi and Ming's pressure, Letme will need to do the same to deal with Kingzone's pressure on the top side of the map.
Yeah, all the setups are reversed in many ways. You look at BDD and Peanut. It's the trio, BDD, Peanut, and Khan, that try to set up Khan for success. He's kind of the one that needs to be the shoulder. We already saw the gold numbers. He's definitely the one that they set up around.
And we've seen it a couple of different ways for Kingzone as well. When we saw them win in the LCK finals, we saw Khan generally on tank picks, with Prey being the carry on Kaiser. So we thought, hey, maybe they'll be able to play anyway. But once they started struggling in this tournament, when their backs were against the wall yesterday against Flash Wolves, they pulled out Jace. They committed to the top lane strategy, and that is when Kingzone is at their best.
But even when he's not on the Jace, I love the Cho'Gath pick that we saw from him, because he still almost plays it like an assassin. He understands that his responsibility is just to shut down the ADC, and he found Betty every single time in those team fights.
Tales of two different teams. For Kingzone, it's all up in the top side. For RNG, it's all about that bot lane with the final, or rather with the final just moments away. I want to gather each team's win conditions from the regional experts. So we're going to start with RNG. Frosker, hit me.
Okay, so the first thing is you need to have bot river priority. Now, what I mean by this is that Xiaohu, Karsa, MLXG, whoever it is, they need to be able to rotate into the bottom side river before BDD gets there. Not only does that make sure that BDD and Peanut can't spread their influence across the map, but most importantly, it's their second win condition, which is Uzi. He is a late game scaling insurance policy. I want a champion that hyper scales. I want the Ezreal, I want the Kog'Maw, I want the Caitlyn, I want the Kaiser. Give me something like that. And then finally, hard engage. Once Uzi is ready, once they've protected him through the early game, they need to have multiple forms of hard CC. Give me the Rakons, give me the Ornns, so they can force those team fights and use his strength.
All right, it's been laid out for RNG. Papa, what do you got for Kingzone?
It's just a one thing. It's a multi-part point, but it's get Khan ahead. That's what they need to do. And on a simple level, we're thinking of the Jace, we're thinking of the Camille, maybe even Gangplank into a tank, get him a favorable matchup where he can do turret damage. But the setup to actually get Khan ahead as a bullet point is multifaceted. In the mid lane and jungle, strong skirmishing jungle and mid lane. You know, pushing with the Talia and a Graves, for example, so you can push and roam top. So that happened the Jace game yesterday. Also a fighting advantage. Maybe you go for the Irelia pick again, kill the enemy mid laner. Then you definitely have the upwards trajectory. On the bot side, someone has to give it up. Ezreal, Tom, Kench, defensive bot lane. That probably has to be the way because they want to be sending their resources top. But as a very simple message, I think Kingzone win this series in the one, and that means in Khan. That doesn't necessarily mean solo killing. I just mean he gets the extra gold. He's taking turrets. He's forcing RNG to make those fights happen, because if they actually need him to teleport in, if it's an even 5v5, I think in the 5, RNG win.
And I think what's interesting about both of these win conditions, they're constrained to different sides of the map. And so often, it is partially about how well your carries do, but sometimes it's more about how well you prevent the enemy team from pulling that off. When we saw Samsung take down FLICKR in the World Championship, it was with a triple Malzahar pick that limited FLICKR's influence over the game. So what I really want to see is how they choose to match this. How does Kingzone not play around bot lane while not letting Uzi get going? And likewise, how would Letme actually slow down Khan and the Kingzone machine?
It's about the support staff. You know, it's about Letme and Xiaohu putting up that goalie defense or that red zone defense across from BDD and Khan. And it's about Prey and Gorilla, famously known for their ability to not demand any resources to be left alone on an island. And now the question is, who's going to crack first to whose style? Who will bend to whose will? Will you have to dig out Prey and Gorilla because Uzi and Ming are just too much? Or will Khan be able to run away because Peanut's able to dedicate so much time to him?
Now, win conditions are one thing. Who's going to win is entirely different. So it's time to address the question on everybody's mind. Who will be the new MSI champion? Jat, we're going to start down on that end.
Unlucky.
I'm so excited to watch this game, is what I'll start with. And I also think it's so interesting how RNG, the LPL team, is seen as the late game team, where the LCK and Kingzone is seen as that early game team that needs to get ahead to get pressure. And when the pressure is on so much throughout League of Legends history, usually the late game team wins. There are rare exceptions. And because I think this is such an even match, when the pressure's on, both of these AD carries looking to get their first international tournament win, I think RNG has a slight edge, and I'll go with them 3-2.
Wow, there it is from Jap. Papa Smithy, what are you thinking?
I think it's a really interesting one. I think for the first time in 1,106 days, there really is a shot that we will see a non-Korean representative team come through. I'm still picking Kingzone, but I'm going 3-2. And the reason why I'm right there, the reason why I'm not sure, and the reason why I give them this slight edge is that I feel like from what we've seen, I think Kingzone matched up super well against RNG. I do have these intangibles. I do have these questions of what is RNG not showing? What can they show? But I need to focus on what I see. I focused on what I saw from Samsung, predicted them over SKT. I'm focusing on what I see from Kingzone, predicting them to win.
And for me, I'm actually going to align with Jat. I'm going to go RNG for a 3-2. If I truly believe that Uzi is the best player in the world right now, then he needs to prove what FLICKR has already done, that you can look across from your opponents, that you can hard carry your team, and that you can be the difference in a very close matchup. Now, RNG are the best team in the world right now at playing from behind, and even if Kingzone do get those snowballed victories, I have to have faith that their defense will hold strong and that Uzi will define his career today.
All right, well, there you have it. The last time the LPL took down the LCK here on the MSI stage, it was a 5-game series, and either way, whichever way the chips fall, all three of my analysts have declared this will be a 5-game series. So with that, we're going to toss it right back up to our three casters to kick off Game 1.
Thank you very much, Dash, and welcome back. Quickshot, Kobe, and Deficio bringing you Game 1 of the 2018 MSI Championship title fight. Hopefully 5 games.
Oh, yeah.
One thing is for sure, a new champion will hoist that trophy. And we genuinely don't know which team it's going to be.
And that's the awesome thing. We talked about this before when we had a brief chat here on the cast of this, about how this might be the best chance for RNG to win the title on this massive winning streak in an AD carry meta with Uzi performing. Like, it's now or never almost.
And the reason it's so interesting is because they are coming at it from different angles, different styles from these two teams. And the style that RNG have been playing, the defense style, has been the most difficult. Not many teams have been able to play good defense at this tournament.
Well, they have, and that is why RNG are on the 9-game winning streak that has got them here to the final. We're about to jump into picks and bans, gentlemen. The champions on my mind: Irelia, question mark, Ezreal, question mark, what else?
Carry top laners like Camille also, because if you are RNG, you want to follow your strategy from what we saw against Fnatic, where you want to make sure that Letme is in a tank versus tank matchup top lane. So remove some carries from Khan, and you take away one of the big win conditions for Kingzone.
Got a good stat for you, Deficio. Khan has played the most unique champions of any player at this tournament.
Ban them all!
And Kingzone have been saving counterpick for him so often. Most of those unique champions, by the way, have a theme, and the theme is melee DPS threats.
Well, one of them is off the table, gentlemen. Camille, first banned by RNG. Karma, Vladimir, the response from LCK's Kingzone DragonX. And the final ban, Karsa, towards Uzi.
So are we looking at Ezreal first pick for Uzi here? With Karsa banned away, we know that Frey will grab it. He took it every single game yesterday. Uzi takes it here. We gotta remember, RNG selected blue side here. They have side selection for the first game, so they were clearly setting up for a first pick AD carry.
And this is interesting for RNG. We set up the defense style, try and wait for Uzi to scale up. Ezreal has very hard 1, 2, 3 item power spikes that can be played off of, so RNG don't have to wait too long.
Oh, let's see if Frey is taking a page out of Uzi's book from the semifinal against Fnatic, where it was the Caitlyn pick with teleport as well, being grabbed against an Ezreal, and that's the Irelia.
That is the Irelia that we have come to know and love. It is a flex pick, has been played in the mid lane over and over here into Taliyah. Taliyah is obviously banned, so that's not going to be the matchup.
I would like Malzahar to come in here for Xiaohu. It's actually one of the champions where you don't need to fully fear the all-in because you have your own suppression and a gank can happen and just take you down. Kingzone did ban it away yesterday when they grabbed Irelia, but they left it open in this one. Ornn is also smart though, because Letme, it's his best champion.
It is indeed 7 games played already. This will be the 8th, and there's that Skarner again. Very high priority on that jungle champion throughout the weekend here in Paris.
And if you look at what RNG are putting together here, Skarner and Ornn work very well as far as early game engages. The ultimate slow basically guarantees that Skarner will be able to pick and choose a priority target for the ultimate.
And now on Kingzone's side, because they see that massive Ornn ult you just highlighted, Kobe, they want the Braum shield to try and block some of it. Not the Tahm Kench to try and prevent someone getting taken away by a Skarner on their side. So I feel they could have gone for both choices. They wanted the Braum.
Yeah, the Braum definitely very powerful. We've seen both walls used so far here at MSI, both Braum and Yasuo, who is still available. Because Trevor, you were getting excited about exciting picks we've seen emerge in the tournament. We just got to throw that one out there. A little more spice still available.
I also want to throw out Ilaoi. He played it against this Ornn here when we had Kingzone versus EVOS in the group stages. We also get that Malzahar ban we just talked about, which could work against Irelia.
Yep, that is exactly why they keep saving the counter picks for Khan. Very diverse champion pool. And he looks to take advantage of that top side. Try and spread out the map so that they don't have to deal with the big engagement here from RNG.
Very last ban in phase 2 from RNG. They've taken Olaf off the table. Peanut needs to lock himself in a jungler still. Obviously, we mentioned already Karsa and Peanut, the starting jungler. Zoe is now removed as a mid lane option. And we're going to find out some more information now which direction this Irelia is going to go once RNG lock in their solo lane.
This is a jungler we almost haven't seen all tournament long in Sejuani. She did receive a couple of nerfs. A lot of junglers were like, I don't want to touch her anymore. She was banned once in the semi-final, and now she's actually locked in for Peanut.
And funnily enough, we did see her as a support champion.
That's the one thing, yeah.
From Fnatic there in the group stages. Now, yes, she was nerfed, and the nerf was due to the mobility. The Arctic Assault was taken down a couple seconds, so a lot of players really felt that she exposes herself a lot more. Now, Peanut has been one of the guys that still played her after the nerfs, and he has been able to save the Arctic Assault until you need it for more disengage, use his positioning more aggressively without having to commit that cooldown.
Talking about disengage, this is Ming's first Janna of the tournament and only his 2nd of the year, and it's another tank, so all in on the Uzi damage threat.
So they're taking Sion mid lane here against what is most likely the Irelia on the other side, but that's actually not too bad for BDD to take that lane, so we get a carry top lane as well. Fiora and Irelia for BDD and Khan, and down the bot lane, Uzi's trying to be a carry on Ezreal first pick.
Kingzone DragonX, not 1, but 2 carry versus tank matchups. Even if they switch them around, a lot of it will be very similar.
What I love is the entire setup of our pre-show, the entire preparation and build-up is how these teams are top favored for Kingzone and bottom favored for Royal Never Give Up. You cannot get a draft that better signifies that.
Yeah, not only first pick Ezreal, you get counter pick for support with the range coming in for Ming to try and win that bottom side really hard. But man, they're gonna be looking at these 2 soul laners from Kingzone.
The other thing I need to highlight, tanks are extremely effective early on in the game. They do not need to scale up with many items. So RNG have focused very clearly a lot more on the early game here as far as bringing everyone together, whereas Kingzone, they have the ability to scale up their damage dealers, split across the map, and play that style that we're used to seeing from them.
But I want to see if Peanut can actually do something early on, because he's on a Sejuani. It is a slow scaling jungler.
It definitely is a slow scaling jungler. Luckily for him, has really good synergy with melee champions and can stack up the stun. So there is tremendous kill pressure in the top quadrant of the map for Kingzone, and that is exactly what you want to see for them.
What I love is how MSI 2018 continues to deliver. Game 1 of the title fight, Fiora versus Ornn in the top lane, Irelia versus Sion in the mid lane, and it was RNG that opted into this blue side, red side option. Ladies and gentlemen, in Paris and around the world, let's kick off the fight for the championship and the title. And let's keep our eyes on exactly what sort of impact Peanut is going to have in this early game.
Yeah, let's look for that one, but let's also look at the summoner spells, where you have 3 teleports on RNG side, and then on the Kingzone side, we start with 3, it will become 4 because Gorilla can also grab one, and suddenly you have 7 players that can actually TP around the map, and we are gonna have so many of these cross maps where you think, ah, I got it, I can just take down this turret, and smack, 3-4 people show up, and a fight happens.
Always important to keep track of your opponents to try and keep track of those cooldowns. So we'll see if they're able to count on all 5 fingers for this one.
I can't believe how many teleports we've got. Back to the beginning of the year, gentlemen. Back to the TP meta. We've actually had a lot of shenanigans in the early game throughout the course of the tournament, so let's see if there's any delayed invades here.
A lot of people like to invade in around 1 minute, 5 seconds towards an enemy red buff. It's not happening in this game here. King Zone will try and have Khan just sit alone up top, and they want to make sure Karsa's not early ganking him, because Fiora in the first few levels is not that strong. Ornn actually should be able to do more than fine against her, but if Peanut can protect Khan, then he will get to his late game point.
And Ornn over here, Letme just helping out Karsa a little bit with the blue, gonna give him some more damage, as was Khan on Fiora there for Peanut. So both junglers are gonna route down towards the bottom half.
And of course, both Khan and BDD running Conqueror here will be very effective against some of these big tanks. BDD in the early laning phase with Irelia. Typically, you accept you get pushed in onto your turret.
Yeah, both of these guys are prolific Sion mid players and very used to the play style. What you want to do on Irelia, as you can see there, BDD making very good use of his mobility with the Blade Surge. You can reset it. Remember, if you kill your target or if you mark them first with either your E or your ult.
And it is important to highlight that because you can dance around minion waves, Sion landing poke onto you is not that easy. So typically BDD can actually stay fairly healthy and just pick up farm.
And it's also important to highlight the exact position that she will go when she blade surges to a target. You will go through the target no matter what direction it is facing, and that's where you're going to have to adjust your skill shots to.
All right, while we can see the tanks doing fairly well in these opening levels as expected, let's quickly remind everybody of how RNG and Kingzone performed during the semi-finals. RNG taking on Fnatic was a very close series statistically, despite RNG being the stronger looking team with the 3-0.
Yeah, and it's really important to look at the stat in the middle, gold at 20 minutes, because RNG, they were down in every single game against Fnatic. That was, of course, part of their game plan, because they drafted a lot of scaling, so they accepted that Fnatic would come out swinging from the start. But the moment we got past 20 minutes, they showed better team fighting, and that was how they managed to win the series.
That's definitely what we're going to keep our eyes on in this game as well. Currently, as well, the bottom lane here, which has been very important in pushing early on to try and get tower damage. Uzi and Ming with the double range matchup have control right in front of the Kingzone turret.
As expected here with the counter pick for Ming. Meanwhile, also, if you are Kingzone, typically people look at this matchup and say Kingzone should be the stronger in the early to mid game. RNG then in the late game can start really team fighting. But with this draft here, Kingzone's scaling because of Fiora and Irelia is pretty damn insane. They don't actually have to necessarily get far ahead early on, as long as they don't suddenly concede a Baron and multiple turrets due to their lack of wave clear.
Nice activation there of all of the abilities. Actually, first uses damage reduction, jumps back in for the reset here after his flawless duet, and BDD definitely showing that he is well-versed on Irelia mid.
Well, definitely seeing his performance yesterday, I would have agreed with that already, Kobe. Can I have a little bit of potential backup here for Peanut? If you look at the minimap, Karsa's nowhere nearby. He jumped in for a little bit of trade, maybe trying to set up a potential bait, block some of the damage, and Peanut just stepped into vision before he backs away.
We did see Peanut and the rest of Kingzone with all the wards on top side as well, just play around the soul lane. As we mentioned this briefly before, make sure Khan and BDD does not get ganked early game and set behind. That is exactly what he's trying to do, which means, of course, Gorilla and Prey were left on their own.
Oh, a little bit of a hop forward there from Gorilla. Zuzi was tagged by the Q. He uses that arcane shift to safety. There's no follow-up yet. But I'm going to put some numbers to this pushing lane we've talked about. We measure forward percentage, the amount of time a champion or player spends forward in front of the halfway mark being the river. And Uzi has spent 41.9% of his time deep into enemy territory. You can see him doing again. Vice versa, Prey, 25%. The matchups have such a big impact on them.
Yeah, those stats back up what Deficio was talking about in the intro and the two kind of different styles that we have seen historically from these two guys. Prey and Gorilla have absorbed so much pressure in the LCK for this team, while Peanut could focus on Khan, while he could focus on BDD in invading the enemy jungle. Meanwhile, Uzi, he's always a focus for RNG.
Of course, and his attempt to always get ahead against the enemy to carry, but by bringing teleport yourself on a Caitlyn, you can match the TP typically coming in from Uzi. He's actually saving it for this one back hit because he had the push, so he got to recall first. Meanwhile, BDD and Khan soon hitting level 6, and we accepted early on they don't have to do much before they get their ultis, but once they enable them, we can start seeing more aggressive plays coming from Peanut around their lanes, because Kingzone, it is very much a split push setup, 1-3-1 with Irelia and Fiora in the 2 side lanes, where RNG, it's all about hard engaging as 5. Peanut, he's around, level 6 is here for BDD.
Okay, Karsa's gonna need to come from the south, and Gorilla's nearby. There's nothing really follows up. Aura the Slayer from Xiaohu, not even a summoner spell blown. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about potential objectives here. An Infernal Drake would benefit both teams, excessively important. And you can see the matchup, of course. Look at the CS difference between Uzi and Prey at 15 minutes.
This one here, he's only a few CS ahead, but of course we are pretty far away from 15 minutes. Can't really flame Uzi just yet for that one. It is a massive difference, however, on the early game impact.
Yeah, Uzi all year long has had huge CS differences, being able to get those last hits, and again, a lot of focus on his lane for multiple members.
Kingzone learned from their series against Flash Wolves. Because Flash Wolves took the Skarner early in the draft. They walked bot lane 2 games in a row and flashed onto the enemy AD carry and shut him down. This Ward Heroes actually spotted Karsa, and the rest of Kingzone's dual lane can just sit back.
Yeah, meanwhile, since Karsa is on the bottom side, and even though he is level 6, Peanut and Kingzone have a lot of vision on the top side of the map, supporting Khan in this Fiora matchup. You know, the blue quadrant is warded, and the blue has just spawned as well. Maybe we'll see some confrontation up there. Xiaohu, though, rotates down bottom first.
All right, let's see what sort of setup can happen. The tower's already down to 45% HP, and the vision gaps. I mean, Kingzone could have sniffed it out. Peanut and BDD gonna run into Xiaohu, who has access to his ultimate. I'm looking at the minimap. All right, no slows just yet. And 7 minutes in, small CS advantages for Royal Never Give Up, and no big plays yet. But Deficio, you touched on it. The moment those solo lanes hit 6, Peanut, Karsa had 6 as well. RNG were looking for a fight.
I mean, it's just fun to see the timer between 2 teams. RNG, they're like, we will take this bot lane turret eventually. Kingzone, you need to do something to stop us. You need to make a play happen on the other side of the map to at least trade turrets. Otherwise, it's going to be 1-for-0 turrets very soon.
Yeah, that's why Karsa's willing to use his Predator down on the bottom side, threatening with his level 6 there on the Skarner.
Oh, look at this.
All right, a grand challenge was issued. Khan's looking to run down Letme, who still has his flash and a few vitals to proc. There we go, the challenge is answered. Letme manages to use the Bellows Breath. Gets a small knockup, no summoner spells traded. Letme still holding firm with a 15 CS advantage.
Yep, they're gonna follow it up with an invade on the bottom side here. Karsa and Xiaohu will be able to steal away this blue.
Keep control of this bot lane. They keep getting a bunch of deep wards into the jungle of Kingzone as well. Letme, he knows to stay alive for as long as possible. Wait for Uzi to grab that turret in the bot lane, and then you have a very fed AD carry.
Meanwhile, on the top side for Kingzone, Khan's trying to sustain up there with a Vamp Scepter first purchase, continually going for the vital procs to try and stay healthy versus this Ornn, but Letme has done such a good job on his most played champion here, getting his CS lead.
Yeah, and of course, he actually survived 1v3 dives against Fnatic just a couple of days earlier. All of the Forge Guard comes out, will not find a stun, but Xiaohu motors in. First blood picked up by RNG.
So we talked about how Kingzone were controlling topside, RNG were controlling bot lane, but the moment RNG decided to switch it up, they surprised Peanut, who was peeking his head into that jungle. Meanwhile, Uzi and Ming are still pushing.
So much of Peanut's invades had to be with pushing lanes, but the tanks converge in the river here to punish him.
Oh, look at the damage there onto the tower. Uzi, by the way, may be able to take the first tower. Not done yet. Oh, the stun manages to connect from BDD. Throws up the Vanguard. Dashes through with the Blade Surge. Flashes to safety. BDD manages to find a solo kill. Very good Howling Gale from Ming. Interrupts Gorilla. Kingzone, they're on the board.
Oh, BDD did the same yesterday. He went for that all in. He has the shield. Ulti is ready, and he got level 9 for himself. Xiaohu did not even try to flash away from it, realizing this is going to be a kill for BDD.
Wasn't it the Sheen timing as well yesterday?
Exactly
the moment he picked it up, the moment he gets the solo kill, and BDD pulls ahead.
There's definitely some foreshadowing when he stacks up the Ionian Fervor to full stacks, then goes for the all-in. Right now, though, we'll take another look at Peanut's invade here, where he gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Oh, Peanut, your solo laners are pushed to their turrets. You can't walk into the enemy jungle, not expecting them to be there. He got punished, but I guess BDD got revenge.
All right, there you go. BDD uses his Blade Surge on a minion that kills it, so it gets the reset. He hit the stun, that gives you another reset. Ultimate gives you another reset. He dashes to the other side through the champion so that the shout does not hit him, just to make it that much better, and flashes out of turret aggro.
That leaves us with 1,000 gold advantage to RNG. CS numbers in their favor, first blood in their favor, and Karsa's got Flash Impale available. No flash for BDD, remember? There we go, into the ultimate. Karsa comboing with Letme and Xiaohu. There is some support. Peanut comes in with the prison. A little bit of damage on the True Shot Barrage. I'm looking at the mini-map for support to come up. Roar of the Slayer and a little bit of Comet damage, but RNG unable to get more.
And the defensive play is as impressive as the offensive play from BDD. He's able to get his Defiant Dance up before Skarner ultimate hits him, and that channel cannot be interrupted. So even though he gets CC'd and pulled back in, huge amounts of reduced damage there. They're able to survive without burning anything big.
And 45% damage reduction for BDD. I don't think Karsa should actually try and go for that flash all in. Use it instead around your carry, the Ezreal, because it is a full armor stacking Sion. He's not going to bring a lot of damage to the table, and that's now a big cooldown gone for RNG, and suddenly Peanut feeling a little bit frisky.
Yeah, Peanut going for the invade here. He's been seen over the ward, but as you said, the cooldown's not going to be here for RNG.
All right, looking at the damage coming out, finds the stun. Xiaohu a sidestep for now before the bowler goes out. There's not a lot to tower dive with all of that armor that you've already mentioned.
Yeah, and we got to keep tracking how much damage BDD and Khan can deal to these big tanks, because it's going to be a lot of armor stacking against mainly just physical damage on the side of Kingston. And luckily, there is going to be some true damage and a bit of magic damage coming in as well, like Irelia does offer some. But it is going to be a lot of armor on two big front line.
Oh, okay. Khan's looking for another fight. Manages to trade back and forth into the minion line, I think helping out Letme ever so slightly. Again, with that ultimate and the Volcanic Rupture, Letme's doing well to sort of fend off the pressure, but it is still only a minor advantage for the LPL.
Yeah, and Letme just knows, as long as he's staying fairly healthy, he can't get fully all in, he can always walk out from the trade, so he has picked up biscuits for himself just to get even more sustain, and we keep saying, you know, this clock here, his job is still just to survive. Uzi should get that turret to the bot lane.
Yeah, he also picked up the early Bramble Vest to try and cut down on that Vampiric Scepter sustain from Khan we talked about earlier, but we're gonna have to check back in here around the Dragon, because Trevor, you talked about it earlier on. It's an Infernal Drake, and that is going to draw a lot more attention back down to this bottom side, where the bottom turret for Kingzone is extremely weak.
Yeah, so this should just be all RNG favored. Khan's TP is on cooldown. It was used earlier. Letme's is ready. He saved it. So you can go 5 members bot lane, get a turret, plus an Infernal Drake. This could be a huge moment for RNG just 1 minute from now.
Gentlemen, I thought RNG were the defensive way to late game team. They've got all this potential to get ahead early, and then I want to see what they do with it. Trinity Force, by the way, was picked up by BDD and Karsa, sniffing all the objectives as Fisher and Kobe have just talked about, maybe setting up for a play. Thank you for the vision toggle observers, as Ming is going to clear out this control ward and set up the siege on this bottom outer turret.
Yep, there are still more options for Letme to try and teleport down to the bottom lane if they want to force this. Karsa is being patient here. Predator not activated yet, and they actually show themselves and move up with the minions.
All right, tower not going to be threatened just yet. Uzi steps forward, but not going to get enough autos down. In actual fact, it will live for a little while longer.
We're so close here. Kingzone should not have any answer because Khan can't leave his top lane fast enough compared to Letme. Karsa knows this, so he's just taking control of the river. But if Kingzone can outplay this one, it's a huge defensive move. Yeah,
you can see, actually, Ornn has stopped on your mini-map. It looks like they were scouting positions for possible teleports to use. Now he's continuing his route back up to topside, but this teetering turret is just about to collapse.
Look at the mini-map. Nearly everybody's making their way down for RNG. Letme's even backed away from the top turret, waiting to throw that teleport down. Just a slight breeze will knock this tower over, but RNG cannot get close enough.
No, they're not fully committing. They could have had multiple members with this minion wave and just give that tower a few hits, but they keep keeping the river control, and Uzi's actually going back now, so they're gonna wait even longer, and this does buy a bit more time for Khan and his TP.
Yeah, his teleport coming up in a couple more minion waves. Uzi uses his now to the bottom side, out of vision of the rest of Kingzone, but Prey as well, sticking around.
Saw the number there. With the lead at 15 minutes, RNG currently undefeated. They've still got that 1,000 gold advantage. And even when behind, they do fairly well. Of course, Fnatic unable to close out games in the semi-final. Karsa, Flash will be available very soon, 15 seconds before that is up. And a number of RNG pings.
Let's go,
on the map. Come on, Uzi just steps forward, finally takes the tower down. But is there enough control elsewhere on the map? Karsa's now looking for BDD, manages to throw out that ultimate. And as he's dancing on the edge of safety, will still threaten and survive what could have been a 1v2 there.
Really smart Vanguard's edge there from BDD. Meanwhile, Uzi got his first turret in the bottom lane. Infernal Drake should be next, but meanwhile, Khan, he's going for the all-in.
All right, I've seen this before, gentlemen. It's not the most exciting of endings. So what else should we be looking at, Kobe?
Well, I like that you talk about seeing it before there, Trevor, because he goes for these big trades, then he tries to heal up off the minion waves. Those trades, though, are going to be more and more impactful. As Division was alluding to, the more items that this Fiora starts to stack up, the more Letme is going to have to play defensively.
All right, there's Letme using a defensive Ornn ultimate. Even a true shot barrage to potentially help out as well. But the wave was cleared, Letme survives, and RNG initiate Dragon. There's no one nearby from Kingzone.
Yeah, even with seeing that ultimate used, it seems like they want to jump through this window because they have got the recall from BDD in the mid lane.
So we get everything we wanted. We wanted the bot lane turret for RNG. We wanted them to get Infernal Drake. Took a little longer than we expected. Meanwhile, top lane, Peanut, he can now tower dive.
Remember, there's no ultimate from Letme. He just used it. The Volcanic Rupture comes up as the first Drake is secured. Whoa! Here comes Xiaohu! I didn't see him coming in, but is it just another slam to the slaughter? Peanut is tanking up, takes a couple extra tower shots, manages to survive one last one. Kingzone get two, but will they get out? Karsa's looking for an opportunity. There's no backup.
Yeah, Peanut waiting on the cooldown there for Arctic Assault. He should be able to get over the edge, but there's your fourth teleport to Vicio. Gorilla swaps it over with Spellbook and joins the bottom, the bot. Oh, here we go in mid lane now. They might actually fend him off the turret.
Okay, so Kingzone, all 3 kills go to BDD. RNG get the 3 first objectives. Tower, First Blood, and First Dragon. And look how much damage they've done to that mid altar.
Yeah, it's so huge for Kingzone that RNG was so slow when it came to killing that bot lane turret and the Drake. Because it bought them more and more time to get levels and items and coordinate their own tower dive. Big thing.
You can just feel the tempo of this game accelerating. Take a look at this replay brought to you by Ace of Predator.
So they know, bottom side, that's where all of the RNG members are currently sitting, except for Letme and maybe Xiaohu. So when they set up the dive with the 4-man, there's nothing these 2 tanks can do to defend.
Yeah, and Xiaohu's ultimate arriving actually procs the riposte there, and they get the stun onto Ornn, finishing him off. 4 members, though, for Kingzone, pretty happy about that one, taking down the top turret. That being said, RNG are still the ones with the gold lead.
And they have the AD carry on 2 items, who's trying to steal a red buff, just failed. Now, though, Kingzone have gotten far enough into the game that they can start going into side lanes with Irelia as well. 3-0 on his side. The 2 tanks on RNG, Sion and Ornn, they can't kill them 1v1. They have to just accept that they're going to get pushed down. So it's up to RNG to force the team fights as 5.
Division, I think there's a little bit of beauty in that. The LCK team playing the 1-3-1 comp, the LPL team playing the team fight comp. You go back years, 1,106 days since the Korean squad has been taken out.
I'm getting real tired of hearing that number.
I'm allowed once per 2 games, and that's my limitation. But it is interesting, and you can see Khan, he's already putting a lot of pressure on this bottom tower.
He definitely is. And you can see RNG, they want to use this big power discrepancy between the 2-item Ezreal, Muramana transformed here, versus Caitlyn's weakest point. There's no Infinity Edge completed for Prey. He's just trying to scrape together a little bit more money for RNG. Double buff Ezreal here, trying to utilize it.
And later, the answer against split push is often just go to Baron. Go 5-man at that Baron, the split pushers have to come to you, and then you can turn and team fight them. But that's just spawned now, and it's very early to start it, so there is more time for Kingzone to keep controlling the side lane. Khan should at least get that bot lane tier 1.
Yeah, it's good you bring that up, because there are multiple very long-range tools. Yeah, well done, Deficio.
Thank you, my friend.
I don't have a very high expectation of your delivery, but you're definitely meeting it. The super long range engagements, as we saw, Sion can head down the river. Letme would start off with the Ornn ultimate. As we talked about, that allows Karsa on the Skarner to choose his target so much easier.
A little nerve-wracking. As soon as we hit 20 minutes, we have this pause now. I will give you guys an update as soon as I know why. But let's talk about this map play. We just saw Khan shoving down that bottom, the swap already playing out. If Kingzone are able to run circles around RNG, I know Baron is one objective, but do they just throw themselves at a tower? Do they just initiate under an inner mid or inner top, force Kingzone's hands?
At some point, you have to.
Got it.
If you go too far into the game and you haven't been able to get a Baron and therefore a giant gold lead and taken most of the turrets, you will look at the side lane split pushes and feel like there's nothing you can do. The other answer is send 3 men to try and kill them, but there's 4 TPs on Kingzone. They can match that.
What do you prefer 40 minutes plus? The tanks on RNG side or the split push damage dealers on the other? I know we've discussed the strengths and weaknesses of each, but what do you prefer, Kobe?
The strengths and weaknesses are going to be in how the map is laid out. What is the battlefield? Who gets to choose the battlefield? Is it going to be the hard engage from the 5v5 team, or are Kingzone going to be able to slowly chip away at your turrets and up their gold lead to the 10,000 mark, where you can't even then have enough crowd control and damage to finish that one off? I prefer, actually, the 5v5 because it's much easier for me, and it's much easier to coordinate my teams usually.
Yeah, it is for our teams, but this is LCK and Kingzone. They can coordinate. Just an update, gentlemen. It is a PC-related problem on the side of Uzi, which our technical refs are looking into right now. We'll give you guys an update as I hear more.
It brings up this question, though, because if, Kingzone split up into their 1-3-1, we have the Fiora on top side, the Irelia on bottom side, we have Gorilla trying to protect Prey's Caitlyn in the mid lane and farm up and continue to scale. Is the Unbreakable from Braum going to be enough to deny that tower dive, deny that hard engage, to decide to force it and break the split?
Yeah, seeing as there will be a Predator Skarner, a Sion ult, and the Ornn, it should not be enough. And that's one of the fascinating things about 1-3-1 comps, is how much it's just about a balance between all 3 lanes. If you see Ornn is missing and Sion is missing from the side lanes, Kingzone will know, okay, they're coming mid. They will communicate, guys, back away from the mid lane. If they fail that, suddenly the tower dive will happen, and that's 2 to 3 kills for RNG, and then the split push stops immediately. So the amount of communication you need between lanes, it is so hard to execute, and only a team like Kingzone can actually pull it off.
It also begs the question, if the team with the Ornn, with the Skarner, with the Sion hesitates after grouping mid, then you lose. You're constantly losing money out in the side lanes and constantly losing map pressure, and that's where you end up with the situations where they get run around the map and feel helpless.
And that concerns me a little bit, because I feel like we have already seen RNG hesitate when it came to getting that bot lane turret and the Drake on the bottom side. They could have done that much faster. Karsa also ended up using that flash ult on Irelia in mid with the full tank sign. So they weren't like pushing it really quickly, which actually has brought more time to Kingzone than I expected.
Got it. Just a quick update as well. Is a technical issue on the side of Prey, not Uzi, as I misspoke earlier. Let's dive a little deeper into the mindset, Deficio, because you said RNG hesitated. They were playing very safe, very risk-averse around that bottom tower. Do you think it was too risk-averse? Do you think it was nerves? Theory spitball for me. I know I'm asking you to project, but how would you interpret those few minutes of play?
There is a chance they're saying, hey, watch out for roam.
Like, you don't want to throw either, right?
Yeah, you don't want to like go all in for it and then double TP behind you, and you're like, oh, okay, now we just lost everything on the side. It could also be them saying, we got plenty of time, guys. Like, our late game, massive front line plus Uzi on a double tier Ezreal, we're good. We don't need to rush anything down. There could be multiple things going on with it. I just want to see if they can actually, the next 5-6 minutes, avoid losing too many side lane turrets.
Got it.
Because they have the group as 5 comp, and it's on them to initiate that. Kingzone will split the map forever if they can.
Exactly. 20 minutes, almost on the dot here. That's where the swing turns for these two compositions. Very excited for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
I am too. Unfortunately, we are not going to get to gameplay just yet. Gentlemen, I do apologize about the delay, but we're going to head to the analyst desk while we're resolving the matter on stage.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. A small technical issue on stage. While they sort that out, we get some time to talk about this game 1 here in our MSI final. 20 minutes in, as the caster said, it's almost a nice little midway point for us to start talking about things as they have broken down. Let's start with Champion Select here. We talked about Irelia at the top of the day. Is it an OP pick? Both of these teams are the only two teams to have pulled it out in their semifinal, and this time around, Kingzone, team to get it.
And with the conversation, we were talking about some sort of counter to Irelia. Now, I'm not going to say that Sion is the counter to Irelia, but you can see what the thought process is behind this champion, taking into someone who does have kill pressure. But the real pick for me was the Janna. We've seen Irelia repeatedly get massive backline access, and when you have an Ezreal and a Janna, yes, Irelia is still going to be diving back, trying to pop Uzi, but it gets that much harder, and we'll see if Janna truly is the answer to Irelia.
And I think Sion Janna is a really fun thing to talk about because they were taking it at the same time. The big story there is Sion, endure the Irelia. Don't get killed like the Talia was a couple of days ago. Endure, whereas the Janna is double down on Uzi, pushing the turret. I saw the Janna and I thought, oh boy, 9-minute turret, 10-minute turret's going to be early. The fact that Kingzone could delay the turret take to 16 minutes for Trinity Force and other items to come through on Irelia and the top lane was really big for them.
Yeah, and I also think this is a cool draft because it simplifies the game. You have two tank solo laners to basically make your only lane of focus down bottom because the tank should be self-sufficient. And then the question becomes, how quickly can they get the turret? The answer was around 15 or 16 minutes, which isn't particularly fast because I think from a simplification perspective on Kingzone's side, having the Fiora and Irelia, your two melee divers, that's all about how quickly can you get them to the point where they can kill the tanks in a side.
Isn't it nice when all of our prep comes to fruition?
Yeah.
In terms of the way that the teams decide to play game one, you've got Kingzone focusing that top side of the map, utilizing the soul laners, whereas for RNG, it's all about that bottom side.
But my issue with the RNG draft, and why I actually wait towards Kingzone draft, is because if they don't have the damage threats. You know, if Ezreal ever messes up, if he goes down, yeah, you have the Janna to help amplify it, but usually when RNG run a composition like that, they still have something like a Vladimir, you know, some other late game insurance policy. Whereas on the side of Kingzone, if you take down the Caitlyn, you're still dealing with the possible Irelia and Fiora. If you get the Irelia, you still got the Fiora. So it's just so many different ways to attack it.
Let's take a look at how the chips fell within the game. There was some discussion around the junglers as both teams have sub options, but it's Karsa versus Peanut here in game one. Taking a look at these early jungle invades and the way that these two players are choosing to interact with each other.
Right, and I think the fact that RNG has lane priority early with the Sion shoving in the Ezreal Janna bottom makes it very easy for them to counter the blue buff. And then I feel like Peanut actually gets pretty greedy because he tries to take it back despite not actually having the map pressure, and this is a pretty easy collapse for RNG to make. This is what they want to have happen with their composition.
Irelia's only just getting to mid lane. Fiora's not interested in coming. That was definitely the wrong time. He thought it was a free trade, but certainly anything but.
And when I was talking about win conditions for RNG, I did talk about that river priority, the ability to rotate first. It happened on the top side, but I also want to touch on the Irelia solo kill. The reason why I think that was so important is because then ultimately Xiaohu could no longer walk into the bottom side river because Irelia already showcased that she can kill that Sion, and then in tandem with Peanut's tower defense, with Irelia denying any sort of bot lane river access, suddenly Uzi and Ming are playing on the back foot, and it's delaying that tower fall, which delays the RNG snowball. And like Papa's saying, now there's a Trinity Force in the game.
Right, that's the thing we asked Sion not to do if RNG was going to come out on head. Of course, then we take that advantage to the top lane where Kingzone executes this dive, but we have some criticism for RNG perhaps.
You have to feel like the call for Letme is stay in lane, I'm coming, and that call would have been coming from Xiaohu, but the timing of Peanut popping in really undid this for RNG.
Yeah, the double TP is what really turns it. You could argue that one TP, it still could have been a failed dive since it's Peanut tanking the turret the whole time and they had a bunch of time to kill him under the turret. That was definitely RNG overreaching, and I do think there are some nerves on both sides. We saw the misplay from Peanut with the invade where he really shouldn't have been there, and then opting into what looked like a 2v3 ended up being a 2v4 is not really a great choice under any circumstances, but in their heads they're thinking, I'm going to make the big play and keep us in the game.
7 teleports when we saw the spellbook switch over, and this is not the spellbook meta we had right at the start of the year, where you could just swap in the late game. Most of these people are committing to teleports, so it's a play-by-play caster's nightmare, because keeping track of those teleports is so hard.
But I also think it's an RNG nightmare. Yes, we did get a lot of experience.
Syndrome.
Exactly, playing on that type of a map, but you just saw it right there, you know, Xiaohu making the call, not thinking about the teleports. And then likewise, if we say that Kingzone are, as Jat said the other day, a pressure-oriented team, playing with multiple teleports, playing with side lane access, versus RNG who want to group up, who want to use their hard C, force these team fights, I just think there are so many more weapons that Kingzone have on the map to split this up and dissect RNG. RNG.
All right, well, with that, both teams were given permission to talk during the pause. I'm being told that the issue seems to be approaching a resolved state, in which case we will be closely, or rather soon, going into game. So with that, quick shot, dive right back in.
Thank you very much. I intend to, with the help of Kobe and Deficio.
All right, approaching a resolved state, aka fixed.
Oh, that's definitely what I'm hoping for. BDD finds himself under some pressure as 4 members of RNG look to run him down. First kill of the finals to Uzi.
So just before the pause, we talked about some of the different answers to split push comms. One of them was, why don't you just send a bunch of members to the one lane and kill the split pusher? In this case here, there was no TPs to try and match it, and the guy died way too fast, so RNG picks up a very easy kill, and now they can look back towards mid lane and Baron area.
Sounds like some classic Korean advice. Why not just kill them, Deficio?
With multiple players, send your friends with you. It's a team game here in League of Legends.
All right, team game indeed. And RNG are looking to play as a team to fend off the 1-3-1. Khan manages to take a charge to the face from Letme, really using that Ravenous Hydra, pushing this wave as hard and as fast as possible. As a tower trade scenario on the cards.
And this is kind of the force that we were talking about before, possible from RNG. So you see Kingzone, they cede the extra territory here. Turret does go down. That's number 2 for RNG. Only 1 outer left standing for Kingzone.
Interesting to note that Uzi went for fairly early QSS in this game here, obviously respecting the fact that it can be a long-range stun from Irelia, or of course Sejuani landing onto him. And as long as he survives the initial engage, if we get a 5-on-5, Ming's ulti should be huge at knocking away all these different bruisers, and then Uzi can actually kill them, because they're gonna be fairly squishy, but they have a lot of upfront damage.
Yeah, one thing I definitely like doing as well when you're facing a Janna is killing the Janna first. And she is a very squishy target, whereas Ezreal, a lot of outs. Here we go, though, another look at BDD, using the minions here to gain some distance. He's got 4 members chasing him, though. As Deficio said, it's a team game.
It's a team game, and if BDD had looked at his minimap, he would have noticed that his mid lane wasn't there. They weren't pushing, so he couldn't actually stay in that side lane, and he did. That's why he got punished. RNG picks up what I consider a very free kill.
Oh, absolutely the case, and that allows Uzi to get to the 10K gold mark at 21.44. You can see how much quicker that is than the tournament average, and that's going to allow him to get closer to this fully stacked tier number 2 build. By the way, I think while we were in that replay, that bottom tower fell. Khan eventually got his target, and obviously now for RNG, it's a defense game. How long can they hold on to their remaining outer base turrets?
And will they be able to pick someone off again? Because it's a very interesting point. When people talk about a pressure-based game or a pressure-based comp, well, it's not going to have to wait long, actually. They sent a lot of people down bottom this time. But you have to always watch the rest of the map. Last time, there was nothing happening elsewhere for Kingzone. So yes, as Deficio said, the death was fairly free. But if you look at the map this time, while Khan is delaying them, Irelia's at a turret. So Kingzone this time around, they have multiple points of pressure, and the balance is taking its toll.
Look at the team game, Kobe. Kingzone pushing top and middle, managing to get interrupted, face planting from Xiaohu. Call of the Forge Guard comes down, and the Braum shield interrupts it. First target's going to be Karsa. Look at Prey, BDD and Peanut now running for their lives. Glacial Prison will slow it down. Royal never give up as Uzi Arcane shifts over the wall.
Oh, they want more, and they have to pass as well.
Oh, this is very, very difficult to deal with. I do have some information that the players are reporting some problems. Obviously, we take those reports extremely seriously, and the QA team backstage are reviewing all of the footage, what the players can see, what the PCs are telling them. That's why we had that extended pause before. We're going to look into it once more.
Great run here from RNG. After taking the kill down bottom, they would just try and scrape Kingzone off of their turrets, pass through mid, able to get the extra kill here, and finish up on top side.
The amount of engage on their side allows them to get 1 kill and then rush together as 5 after, and because you have insane range with it, like an Ornn, that despite getting blocked, still slows the Braum down, allows them to catch up.
That allows them to go headfirst into the wall.
Hey, Xiaohu didn't need that ulti. He made that very clear from the start.
It's about sending a message,
yes,
right?
That wall was in his way.
The rest of my team, they got this. I'm just going to make sure they step up their game. By the way, just an update for this specific pause. I believe it is Ming reporting something wrong with his client. They're busy investigating that. It should only be a few minutes, hopefully, before we get back into game.
And it's a very, very big moment in the game for RNG because they killed the bot lane split pusher and Khan. They've already shut down Gorilla, looking like they're going to get more kills as they're already going around the wall here, about to attack the rest of Kingzone. If they can get maybe 1 more kill, that's an early Baron for RNG, and that's how you get all the outer turrets.
Exactly. We are 23.5 minutes into this game. Baron is a very viable objective. Then you have to start counting all those teleports, though. Khan, even though he's dead, and Gorilla, even though he's dead, both have theirs available. And BDD, currently alive, has a few seconds left on his. So Kingzone still might have some recourse if RNG decide to force it, but you still want to force anyway to draw out more of those cooldowns and then keep track of them.
Well, we actually have a replay of that passage of play, including the face plant where Xiaohu just forgot to turn left. But talk me through the rest of this.
Yeah, so we get the long range engage, and notice while Gorilla can block and not get knocked up, it still slows around him. So he will get caught by the rest of the team, and now they can just chase Kingzone. And nice action by Xiaohu to again apply another slow. Uzi's gonna come around the wall, and this is when the pulse is gonna hit. But at this point here, Kingzone should know they've messed up, and RNG should get more kills.
They should. Of course, Uzi's gonna be waiting in the wings to try and cut off any stragglers. The question I have for you, gentlemen, is this an appropriate response from RNG, because they lost a lot of tower HP in the top and mid towers? If this keeps happening again and again and again, you know, who's gonna have a pressure break first?
Yeah, so we check back in on who's favored at the moment. I think that the seesaw here is tilted towards RNG at this moment because they have stayed ahead of the curve as far as the pressure that Kingzone have been able to apply. We saw it here with the chase, getting them off of the turrets so quickly. Yeah. You can tell by the gold lead here, they're very happy with the game state, rolling ahead, forcing these fights, all the tanks basically creating space for Uzi to just run wild on the Ezreal.
Yeah, 100% agree. Also the fact they killed both side laners, first Irelia, then they went down and killed Khan right after, and he actually used his flash, so he has to be a little bit more careful as well once he returns. It is really big for RNG. Poor Prey, he wants to just be a carry, but he's been relegated to defend his own turret. He's only on 2 items as Caitlyn. He can't really fight properly yet, so this is all RNG favored.
It is RNG favored. We're going to jump straight back into the game and into the action. The referees have determined that we will play on. And by the way, BDD dashed through everything, used that ultimate to escape. The pressure's not done yet because Karsa is looking to jump in, looking for a stun with the help of that fracture. Now it continues to chase forward. BDD getting hammering. Teleport's coming in. First victims fall on both sides as Prey drops immediately after. Khan completes a teleport only to find himself in the face of 4 RNG members. He falls thereafter. Peanut is the next target. RNG on tower diving, and they get 4.
And the tanks reign supreme. Ming channels a full Janna ultimate there, healing them up, and they only dropped 1. Now that Baron is on the table, they even got one of those extra teleports off of the score.
RNG played that so well. It all started with killing Khan in the bot lane, rush mid, catch out Kingzone, and then set up a beautiful tower dive. Can't even return and died again.
Unbelievable. The Baron is doing a lot of damage to the single TPS members of RNG, and Gorilla's face alone scares RNG away.
Gorilla chases them off of the Baron here. The other members have survived, or have revived, and teleports were ready for BDD and Prey to come as well, but let's go way back to the beginning here.
Yeah, this is the engage once again that slows down Gorilla and Prey. Suddenly they get caught here by RNG. All 5 members are screaming, go, go, go. We can catch them, we can kill them. Xiaohu flashed in. I think it was his Randuin's Omen he flashed in and used to get another form of crowd control, and while BDD does buy a bit of time, Uzi and the rest of RNG can tower dive.
Yeah, BDD dashes in, then uses his flash over the large portion of the wall, but tanks full steam ahead. They're gonna go for the dive here. And look at the tower aggro. Never mind, let's look at the Dragon Pit.
Luckily, we got to see that fight on a broadcast. Prey has no flash available. Kingzone on trap, and Uzi gets a double kill. 5-0-3. Got Archangels completed, and RNG just peeled back the Baron.
Yeah, now you can go for the Baron here. Kingzone, you cannot fight here. You're completely split on the map. Their 1-3-1 composition cannot stop the engagers. There's so many big tanks, and they want to keep fighting. BDD, time to be a hero.
Let's see what he can do. Got the ultimate available to him. No flash if he wants to get into the pit, and Peanut's coming in from behind. Blast cone has already been dealt with.
Ming is trying to run interference here on the Janna, and now they turn on BDD.
Oh man, BDD gets a lot of dashes before yet another kill lands in Uzi's coffers.
Peanut is on the other side of the wall here. Should not have vision in the Baron pit. Ming will just try and hurricane him. They get the Baron here. It takes some time with the tanks, but they got it. RNG in full control.
Now they need to answer the split push. The Baron-empowered recalls are going to get them back to base, and they burn Xiaohu's teleport to stop him in his tracks.
Another impressive engage. They win the fight, they start the Baron. Kingzone's 1-3-1. It's never allowed to just sit and split push. It's always fights in favor of RNG. Like, this is just all 5 members grouped again, because you look at the side lanes, no one is putting pressure. They don't have to be afraid of it. Kingzone overstep and get punished.
Oh yeah, dream scenario for RNG. They didn't have to deal with any of the side pressure. They are able to find the stragglers in the river. Easy ultimate there for Karsa, and they take him down.
And this should now mean a bunch of the outer turrets fall as well. RNG, once they have pushed Kingzone down towards their base, the split pushers can't do anything. They're forced to fight their way out. Okay, Dragon.
Yeah, Dragon making it clear that RNG have secured it. Of course, looking at the stats on your screen, RNG and Kingzone's kill-to-death ratio in 4v4 fights. Nearly 2 on the side of RNG, and they've already won several team fights. On the flip side, Kingzone slightly lower, slightly less effective in that place, but with Baron, RNG, they've got themselves a tower already.
Look at the minimap. Prey split pushing at the moment on this Caitlyn here. He's not here to defend, but Kingzone have no wave clear. RNG are pushing straight for the inhib.
How deep are they going to go? We saw Evos make this mistake of pushing straight into the base and then getting flanked from all sides. RNG will not make the same mistake though. They go and just cut their losses right there, take the inhibitor, and retreat to defend.
Oh, they might be able to catch Prey. Look at Karsa. He did not recall. He's running straight for him. Predator is not available, but he will get close enough.
All right, let's take a look. He's got that exoskeleton available to him. Impale's there as well. Prey, no flash available to him. He's making mid-range. Karsa steps into place, brings him back with the Impale. Despite the searing charge not finding the target, Prey gets run down. Kingzone are behind 7,000 gold. Down 8 kills, 2 dragons, a tower, and an inhibitor. And RNG are poised to take game 1 in this best of 5.
Yeah, we do not want to see RNG slow down now. They still got a minute on the Baron buff. They've killed the mid lane in it. Get all these outer turrets. And if Kingzone try and defend, get ready to tower dive them. The lack of QSS on the side of Prey means that they can always flash in and grab him with Karsa.
They can be more and more reckless with their dives now too, because they are such rich men and they have so many tanks with hard CC that they can just tower dive and force it.
Let's see what Kingzone can do. Of course, Irelia does exceptionally well into all of these shield users, and nearly every single champion on the side of RNG has a shield available to them. But will he get enough time? Prey takes a mystic shot to the face and is chunked down. Inhibitor number 2 falls, and Kingzone, they're looking for a re-engage. Teleport is available for Letme if he wants to join the fight. He's not going to get it just yet.
We get it reset now. 2 inhibs fallen. Will not be able to stop any sort of recalls here. If you are Kingzone, either you go for the most crazy split push game of all time, or you have to try and win a 5 versus 5, down almost 10,000 gold against a team fight comp.
That's why people always caution against the lack of fallback patterns for a composition like this. It's very hard when you're down to remount a pressure game, to start pushing out the side lanes, because it's so much easier for RNG to catch you and stop any one of those lanes of pushing before you even get started.
And if we're looking at that potential big team fight that Kingzone needs, I have to look at Ming on the Janna. We mentioned it earlier, Kobe, you highlighted kill the Janna first. She can't protect. That is one strategy for them. But if Ming is very quick on his ulti, and he gets to knock Khan and BDD back out of the fight once the initial engage happens, then Kingzone should simply not have the damage to kill Uzi.
So much execution then on the side of Kingzone. They may not get an opportunity because RNG with Baron are still barreling down. Correction, Banner empowered minion. Baron buff has worn off. They've got supers in the top and the middle. And look at Uzi, he goes over the wall only to flash back out. All of the traps are already dealt with, and RNG are not giving Kingzone a chance. Backwards edge comes bound. There's a bit of disarmament, but simply not enough. A multi-man stun from BDD's bought some time, but nobody is even touched. RNG are destroying, dismantling, deconstructing Kingzone. And as Kingzone run for their lives, Uzi goes godlike, takes down the inhibitor turret, and turns his attention to the Nexus turret.
And RNG will be able to take first
nothing left standing as Khan and Prey run for their lives. Some fan service to the LPL and to China, trying to pick up kills inside the fountain. Not gonna do it just yet. The Nexus will fall, and RNG are 1-0 up.
Perfect start for RNG. They select blue side. They first pick Ezreal for Uzi. He wins his bottom lane. Meanwhile, on the other side, Irelia, Fiora, Kingzone are looking at this draft saying, yes, BDD and Khan, they can carry. But the moment they walked into a side lane, 3 tanks started a fight, and RNG won every single one of them.
So important here for RNG to get this victory, saying we don't have to play your game. We don't have to opt into carry versus carry matchups. Tanks will do just fine.
I'm going to call back to the pre-show where a bold statement was made. A question was posed by Dash. What's more likely, a Kingzone 3-0 or an RNG 3-0? And Frosk had the response, RNG, and they would have to play out of their mind. Was that not RNG playing out of their mind? The response to the 1-3-1 was flawless, and it ended the game.
Yeah, the moment we got past 20 minutes, it was like RNG said, okay, now we know we can just force plays left and right to kill the split pushers, and they force in the mid lane.
You have to change the story when you see the team compositions drafted, as we said in the Champion Select, when they have an early spiking AD carry and plenty of tanks to work with.
They absolutely did, and RNG crushed game 1. To find out exactly how they did it, let's head down to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. They've got one, but if they want a 3-0, they got to put 2 more together here back to back. A huge win for RNG here over the LCK representatives. Before we dive back into gameplay, I do want to re-hit the win conditions as we laid them out for these squads at the top of the day, starting with RNG. Oh.
Wow, I was so excited and screaming that I decided to put it back up. No, a reminder, it was the bot lane river priority because you want to isolate Uzi in that 1v1. Make sure that he denies the enemy CS. It was then Uzi on a hyper-scaling champion. Ezreal fits right into that pocket right now with the double tier build. And then it was the hard engage because once Uzi is online, you need something like the Ornn to force the team fights. And they checked every single box and ran away with the game.
Now on the flip side for Kingzone.
It was a 2 out of 3. That was kind of the issue here, is that obviously you like the Fiora into Ornn. It's actually a matchup that takes a long time to get going. You kind of need the second item. Ravenous Hydra, we saw so many times. Full all in, everything, all the vitals procced. Still not able to kill the Ornn. That's the frustration there. They also, when it came to the bot lane, I like what they did. If you're going to give up Ezreal, my kind of prediction was going to be TP Caitlyn, maybe even a TP Ashe, and just trying to match the pressure. Stay in lane as much as possible. You're not going to get any ganks. You've got the matching. The problem came when it came to mid-jungle. You'd say, okay, the Irelia came through, it was getting kills, that's great. The Sejuani was a reach already. We haven't seen Sejuani jungle with any priority this tournament. And the big problem they had is that when we saw them getting advantage in the side lanes, that was with the laning phase still going. When the laning phase ended, Peanut couldn't invade his Sejuani and get vision because he doesn't have a combat advantage. And because Peanut was on more of that team fight pick, they never checked all the boxes. They got caught once, twice, game was over.
And I think both teams tried to play towards the win conditions that you both laid out before this. And they also both tried to counter the other team's win condition. Caitlyn was not a pick to try and crush the Ezreal. It was a pick to try and withstand the Ezreal. And then also the Sion and the Ornn was an attempt to withstand the split push pressure game that Kingzone could output. And because they withstood that with the collapses before the Fiora would be able to outscale the tanks, and because Uzi hit his 10K gold at 21 minutes and 44 seconds, which was a minute and a half faster than his own average, which is the fastest, he got so much farm. They hit their spike faster, and then they just rammed it home.
Now, that said, that's a lot of technical win conditions. I do want to talk about something that's an X factor, and it's this word momentum. I feel like whenever analyst casters, they talk about momentum, then it's like, of course, everyone knows about momentum, but no, I want to set the record straight. It means so much more for Uzi in particular. This guy repeatedly has talked about how his own emotions get in his way, how the doubt creeps in, so many second place finishes, and that he is constantly fighting his own emotions for victory. This must be just a massive high to grab the Ezreal, to go legendary in his game, and to pick up the first win.
Made all that much more impressive by the team fight victory that came 24 minutes into the game for RNG, as Ming was the one who suffered the client issue. You'll even see it here in this game, stalling out in the river for just a moment, but coming up big in the team fight overall.
It's really important to note that they had just killed Fiora in the bottom lane and were collapsing up to match the pressure of Kingzone, which Kingzone was trying to create. Picking Gorilla once, and also seeing the Kingzone wasn't necessarily retreating at the right point, emboldened RNG for this game.
And I love that Jat talked about item timing. So at this point, Ezreal has that famous 2-item spike with the Muramana, the Trinity Force going into those early items, the Sheen upgrade. Meanwhile, Kingzone, they need time to get items to split, not to 5v5. So in this formation with the tanks leading, it's free hitting for RNG.
And I love this dive. There's no one that can actually disrupt the Janna ultimate well. So look how long he sits on that full channel level 11 Monsoon heal. Because they have the armor stacking Sion as well, who expertly takes about 15 turret shots, it makes this dive easy.
And RNG had to win right here because they needed to snowball into the Baron. Otherwise, they were going to lose complete control of the map as Kingzone's carries would come online and be able to split it up. But time and time again, Kingzone have shown that all you need to do to beat them is force them to fight you. When the Flash Flows would get their slight advantages against Kingzone, it was again in these skirmishes, in these team fights, and RNG are proving that they can force the same weakness.
That hard engage, allowing RNG to take the fights when they want him, where they want him. And again, when you talk about momentum and morale, to have won this game and even fight through some of those technical difficulties, to me that speaks to the mindset that all these RNG players entered with. They are on a mission for an international title.
And you could see when Uzi was taking the stage, when they announced the teams, everyone was very solemn, very serious face, and he was all smiles. He outstretched his arm, he was clapping people's hands, he was going by. During the pause, he was in his zen, he was focused during game, but right there, just so attentive to the coach. He knows that this is his.
As, of course, though, we've seen time and time again, a team with a lead that seems like it can't be toppled, throwing something away in the late game. RNG doesn't let that happen this time around. They find one final fight near the bot inhib of Kingzone. Kingzone taking a stab at it, but they come up just short.
And of course, this is an emergency fight. They have to fight at this point, otherwise their base will be taken down. BDD dives in, is trying to occupy time and space, but look at those health bars from RNG. They're not even taking specs.
Yeah, tank wall. Basically, Uzi didn't have his flash, so he said, I'm just going to really stand close to all of the other big
of all of
Can't click on me next to the
They'll
dive.
never find me. And they ended up not even having a chance.
Look at that damage.
I do want to give credit to Ming right there, though. The fact that Uzi didn't have his flash because he went aggressively in and had to flash out, and then Ming gets the perfect ultimate in that fight to reset everything once BDD did try to make the dive, or maybe it was Fiora, into the backline. So Ming, the unsung hero here.
All right, a pretty gold graph for RNG here in game one, but I want to turn our attention to game two as Kingzone has elected to stay on the red side. Ooh. No substitutions coming in, so the jungle matchup will remain the same. Give me your thoughts. How does Kingzone turn it around?
Okay, coming into the tournament, there were a few picks that had a weird spread between the two teams. This is now 8 Ornn picks for RNG and 0 Ornn picks for Kingzone. I think they can change their bans up. I don't think Kingzone needs to ban Karma or Karsa on the blue side right now. They should not, in my opinion, give up the first pick Ezreal, and they should get rid of the Ornn early on.
I agree with that, but I want to push back a little bit. I feel like Kingzone looked at the Ezreal, they understood that let's be clear, Kingzone absolutely knew it was going to be a first pick Ezreal. They thought that they had the plan with the Caitlyn, and maybe they think the same thing for the Karsa, but what is going on in the back of your head there if you thought, okay, we'll take the Caitlyn into the Ezreal, it'll be fine. Let's just give him Karsa this time. Like, I think that's the same mistake, actually.
And it's just a really interesting scenario, because I kind of agree with Jat on specifically the point around the Karma, because on the red side, the Karma can be flexed so effectively. On the blue side, you're a bit more narrowed, so maybe that's the ban you drop. I want to see a more combative jungler. I want to see the pushing advantage rather than necessarily the skirmishing advantage. So away from, say, the Irelia and onto more of the Talia and Olaf kind of school of thought.
A few thoughts ahead of game two. The results are in, and the region that showed the most regional pride during this year's MSI 2018 is Latin America North.
Wow.
Brazil in second and the CIS in third. Here you can see the full results around the globe. Just a moment, we'll fly those up. Come on, North America. And after MSI and players who own the icon of the winning region, the fandom battle, or the icon for the MSI champion will receive an upgraded team icon and a 3-day XP boost. We're stepping away. When we return, it's game two, where Kingzone hopes to even the score. Don't go anywhere.
Xiaohu motors in. First blood picked up by RNG. Oh, the stun manages to connect from BDD. Throws out the Vanguard. Dashes through with the Blade Surge. Flashes to safety. Teleports coming in. First victims fall on both sides as Prey drops immediately after. Card completes a teleport only to find himself in the face of 4 RNG members. RNG are destroying, dismantling, deconstructing Kingzone. And as Kingzone run for their lives, Uzi goes godlike, takes down the inhibitor turret and turns his attention to the Nexus turret.
Predator, proud partner and official monitor provider.